consider us their friends also.
The 38,000 square foot building is made of Italian marble and granite. And while the church...
Well, meet Delia Gallagher, and definitely another Gallagher, and talking about a real hive of Gal, of course, the Mormon church. And certainly a very strange thing just to have popped up in the news today. I wasn't even aware of them building this temple, but when I show you the pictures of it, you'll see yourself quite a substantial building. And if there's any faith that really is bad, I mean, the Mormons definitely come at the top of the pile here. Imagine being a Mormon, like total mind control style religion of any that you've ever seen.
And church leaders say that today their membership reaches some 16 million people worldwide. But there are more Mormons today living outside the United States than inside.
Yes, we've been able to export the mind control and all this statue business. It fits right at home with Rome indeed. And they actually make the comment something along those lines towards the end of the video here.
And Rome, the eternal city of temples ancient and new, welcomes them all.
Yes, we have them all. Temples eternal and new. What an interesting little line here. Just before this, they had the St. George Dragon ad that they have here in Australia for one of our banks, strange enough. What's going on here? All sorts of rubbish. There's the story. Here we go. Cron for Kronos. And in the nice purple vestments. Look here, often, I've said this before, they have somebody like this in the background. A little African theme, you might say. Now, funny enough, I'm looking for this video with the Pope dedicating the Mormon temple, it says. But this came up, and it's pretty interesting. Mars House with the big X.
Mars X House is autonomously constructed using
Look, that was the Helter Skelter house.
indigenous Martian materials to form a pioneering and durable habitat supporting future human missions to Mars.
Well, there we go. I mean, how realistic is this? And of course, when they ultimately stage all this, it won't look much better. Oh, and Harry, as you know, links to Mars, and he turns up on the page as well. And look what it says here about the father. And they're trying to, I guess, say that it must be Charles. This maybe looks a bit like Charles' sort of idea, but I mean, this could be touched up a bit. But as we know anyway, we've seen the picture with Elton, and Cron's here as well. So, as you know, nothing's what they ever tell us, and they always put out little shooters in the wood stories to distract us another direction. Well, it doesn't seem they took any real footage inside with the Pope, just photos, but there's this little bit here of them walking out.
We had a most cordial, unforgettable experience with His Holiness. He was most gracious and warm and welcoming. We talked about our mutual concern for the people who suffer.
Don't you love it? Nelson, Trafalgar comes to mind, but of course the Russell for, well, there's a Russell everywhere in all of this. The Russ, the red of L. And look here, we're certainly mermen indeed. The one on the left there. And yeah, Russell M. Nelson.
Throughout the world, we want to relieve human suffering.
Oh, nice little touch.
We talked about the importance of religious liberty, the importance of the family, our mutual concern for the youth of the church, and the
youth. Everything's about the youth. We can see what's going on here. They're all in bed together, as we know anyway. But certainly just another little step in the path to some sort of black velvet religion. Well, here's old Russell Nelson down in the so-called Holy Land. Well, we can see the play all unfolding here. Look at this stripe business. But again, nudge. It'd probably go in a bit of a stall mode. But listen to just what he says here.
With apostles and prophets. In the coming day, the Lord will return to this Holy Land.
The walls of the holy city of Jerusalem have echoed with the voices of God's prophets for thousands of years.
Well, that is certainly not thousands of years old. This wall here, in very nice condition, as we've noticed with most of the so-called really old things in Jerusalem. And here he goes here. Nice little hand sign type shake.
In his holy name and give his direction to his people. It's quite an awesome responsibility, one that no one ever asks for, but one obediently responds when called.
Oh, well, do you notice the distance there between the nose and the lip? It's the overall look we've seen a million times before. Certainly would have the Pastor Anderson little prop-ups in here, but they're not doing a great job. We've still got nearly a ski slope, certainly on this side here. Way down the hill we go. Yes, the prophet they're calling him. Listen to this.
In the company of President Russell M. Nelson, a modern prophet in every sense, with the same authority and the same priesthood, and teaching the same gospel.
All of us are very, very grateful to be here this day.
Yes, he says, Jerusalem is home. Something they just set up, and of course the Mormons are big players in the game. You know, some of these cults are, as you know. I mean, to me, Judaism is a bit of a cult in itself, and we know how powerful it is, but certainly the Mormons, a very powerful organisation, seem to have money dripping off them, and that temple really shows how they could build that thing in the middle of Rome. Like, where's the money come from? Just amazing. Anyway, there's nothing new, this sort of friendship idea here. As we know, all the leading leaders of everything in this world, really across the board, politics and religion, are all part of the greater Tea Party. So they've been together a long time. They just keep a certain pantomime going for the public. They certainly seem to be building the agenda here in the last few years, and certainly this year has gone off with a bit of a bang, as it were. As said, now and again they have a peak like that, then there's sort of a consolidation period. So while people are screaming it's the end of the world tomorrow, the nukes are going to rain, well, we know the nukes are fake. There's not much they can really do to us, you know, robot armies, but I mean they're a long way from that one yet, so I wouldn't be too worried. I'm not sure what tomorrow will bring in, neither are you, but certainly all the hype that goes on with these things, and already there's endless videos I've noticed talking about these things, and they're all saying the end is here. And this guy was pushing that in one of the statements he made in a way. Of course, the Mormons always have. That's what the trumpet on the roof is about. But it's a bit of endless sort of Groundhog Day, isn't it? That's how they keep the power, to keep people in a constant state of flux. But in the end of the day, they're fairly slow moving. I just remember back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it's been going on then too, and we're still here today, and I think we'll be here in 2030. And certain things will have changed. We've seen quite a change since year 2000 to now in certain things, like the internet is a big one, of course, but just different ways and approaches. We've seen all this rainbow stuff emerge, etc. So things are moving forward, there's no doubt about that, and maybe this is a bit of a bump year. And this is interesting here. Look how they've got the reflection going on behind this guy, and then with this to the right, it makes a cross idea straight up in your mind. And here are the girls all admiring that little statue sitting on the purple. Yes, quite an interesting building. A bit ark-like, isn't it? Like Noah's Ark. Look at this interesting shadowing on the top here. I guess because lit by the lights underneath. Gives the idea, is it black, is it white? All this slab work here out the front here too. Quite a little temple indeed. And talk about the Mother Teresa look. We certainly have the Mother Teresa look here, haven't we now? So there you have it. I'm sure this guy's Moroni. So he'll be blowing this little trumpet all over Rome now. Yeah, so no one of the Mars, of course, with the Mormon, and then there's Campus Martis at Rome, and of course they relate to Aries the ram. Backwards, of course, and look where it is too, at Mermaid Beach. More, rom, ram, all the same. See it so much. And it's in the hand, isn't it? And no Reggie. I mean, Papa. This is a Mormon. And this is a bit of a CGI of what Campus Martis was supposed to have looked like in Roman times. I like this word here, as we know they love this word. Reconstruction. Excavations and reconstructions all round. But what is strange is I had to press Rome here to get this up. If you just go to Campus Martis, I'll just search it again, you'll see. Look, it's just all Detroit. And far down the page, then you get this one. Finally, this comes up again. But certainly does look a lot like our grounds of our Mormon temple outside the big basilica itself. And here we have the Pantheon of Campus Martius, and the camp idea again, just like the camp bell. But definitely nice and fresh looking here, sometime in the 1800s. No doubt this was built, and they say, of course, it's a reconstruction. Very interesting designs here out of Campus Martis, Detroit. Martius, I should say. I might look at this a bit further. Very interesting patterns indeed, eh? Sort of different. From the town of Bedrock, Detroit.